Today I will just move on to the next topic. I think we have done enough of actually loaded members and then general problems of stress and strain. So we will move to what we call generalized forces. See, in this course we are concerned with a body which is subjected to forces, body which is constrained, body which has got proper boundary condition, which is properly supported, and then it is subjected to forces. So and then we are interested in what happens to the body, I mean within the body. So we are finding out movement of particles inside the body, and also we are finding out the effect of external forces on the interior, and that is stress, and also rate of change of displacement, that is strain. These are the issues. This first type of member, that we took, that is member subjected to actually loaded forces we have taken, and I must have given you the property of the member. Some adjective was applied to that member. What was the adjective? What kind of member was there which was applied to, I mean which was subjected to axial force? Is there any, it is just a member, it is just a body subjected to axial force? No. See, what was the kind of body that we have considered when the body is applied with are subjected to axial force? One dimensional body. You are close to the one dimensional body. It was not a, see, one dimensional body also is a three dimensional body. There is nothing like one dimensional. This pen also is one dimension. It looks like one dimensional, but actually, so we define one dimensional as what? I mean, how do you define one dimensional? Don't say neglected. They are small. They are small compared to, because any body, you have got a particle in a body can be located by the coordinates, and in general there will be three coordinates if it is a three dimensional body, x, y, z. So if one dimension x is very long, very large compared to y and z, then we treat that as one dimensional. And what do we call that body? That one dimensional body, yes, it is one dimensional. Yes, I think we have been using a particular word. What kind of member? Some member. Before member there is a particular word. Slender member. Member is slender. What is a slender member? See, body is a general, very general, it defines a general body. Body can be very complicated. Now, one member of that body is such that it is a slender. When do you idealize a body as slender? When one dimension is very long, very large compared to the other two. So it is called slender. When length is very large compared to B and H. Let us say, if you call that as Y and this as Z, this as X. So if this is, so it is a slender member. So we will be dealing in this course with slender members. Our preoccupation in this course will be only with slender members, and the reason is that majority of structures that because we are dealing with structures actually, not a single member, but then the structure consists of number of members which are interconnected. For example, this building, you have beams, you have columns, At the bottom from the ground you have footing, then we have a slab on which you are sitting. Slab is this flat portion which is subjected to transverse load. So from slab the load goes to the beam. So you have, so like this, if you have a, I will draw only a one such, supposing you see some building like this, I am drawing only the skeleton. So this is called beam, this is called column, and this goes below the ground, and then we have to enlarge this size of this and then put it like this. This is called footing. Why do we enlarge? Because finally the load has to be, because from the load has to be transferred to the ground, and ground, if you just put a column, one member like this vertically, and then simply you put it on the ground and the load is heavy, so what will happen? How will the load be transferred to the soil? One is, of course, there is a direct pressure, contact. See, this portion is directly in contact with, let us say this is a soil. So area is very small, load is very high, the stress will be, direct stress will be very, very high. So maybe the soil will not be able to take that much of stress. Then load is also shared by the column over its periphery. Supposing you insert this into the soil, this pen insert this into the soil. So even this surface also is in contact with the soil. So what kind of load will be transferred through this surface? Shear stress, shear. What will we call that? I think shear stress. So it will be direct pressure here, normal stress, and also shear stress. Shear stress will be acting on the area of contact, perimeter multiplied by the height is the area that will be subjected to some vertical stresses. So the load will also be registered by that kind of stress. But then this area is very, very small. This area is not also very large. So what we normally do, we expand this and make just like my palm, and then you put this on the soil. So the area has become large, stress developed between soil and the bottom of the footing will be small, and the soil can take that load. So, and then within the plan you have like this, if you draw the plan, you will have these beams like this going in the two directions. See here, any building you see, now number of buildings are under construction, go and see, and so these are all beams, this is plan, this one is section, vertical section. So these are beams, and this one is called slab, SLAB. So slab is the larger area on which you are sitting, you have all your desks are kept there. So this, from the slab, the loads are transferred to the beams. So loads go like this, loads are vertical here. So loads will be going to the beams, and from beams all these points you have the columns which you are seeing here. So these are columns at all these corners, at all the junctions. Then from beams they will be transferred to the columns, and from columns to the footing. So it is slab, the load transfer is always through slab, then beam, then column. Column is a vertical member, this one in any frame, in any building, and then to footing, and from footing it goes to soil underneath. This is the load transfer. This is the mechanism of load transfer. Okay. So all these members, that means the slab is a continuous body. Slab is like this. This is the slab. Okay. This paper in horizontal plane is a slab. Is it okay? On which then at the edges you have the beams. Now slab, I am not talking of slab. Slab is a two-dimensional body. It is not a one-dimensional body. It is a continuous. It has got this dimension as well as this dimension. They are more or less of the same size, and only thickness is small. So slab is a two-dimensional. But then the loads are transferred to the beam. Now beam is only a one-dimensional. Length is very large compared to the cross section. So that is a slender member. Column is a slender member. Column, vertical member also is a slender member. So most members in a building are bridges. Have you seen bridges? Bridge. There also you have crisscross, members. If these are the two sides of the river, water is flowing here. So first of all you will have logs. You have stronger members which will be there, and then you will construct a slab. So from slab again loads will be transferred to the beam, and then they will be transferred to the sides. So all these bridges, buildings, then even automobile, if you see the body of this car from beneath, you will say that there are steel members, and then you have the floor of the car which is put on that. So it also consists of number of slender members. So slender member is a very important, it occurs in almost every real structure in practice. So our concern here is slender members, and slender members when they are subjected to forces, then we want to study the behavior of these slender members under the action of forces. Now so far we have studied only one action, that is axial. When this slender member is subjected to an axial load, then what is the behavior? Now let us go to actually what happens to slender member. So this is a slender. This is centroid. This is x axis. So this is a slender member, I have cut it here. So this slender member normally, how will you know what action? So this is subjected to all kinds of force, this slender member. We want to study at any point along the length of this slender member, what are the types of forces that are acting, what are the different kinds of forces. So how will you know? So best thing is to cut the slender member at some cross section. So let me say that this is the cut section, and there is also a slender member on the other side. So this is the left portion of the slender member, there will also be a right member of the slender member. So this is the free body diagram of the, let us say you want to draw the free body diagram. Free body diagram means you will have to show the forces on the cut section. So what are the real forces that will be acting on any plane when you have cut a slender member? So for example, this pen is there, if you cut it over here, the cap here, so what are the forces that are acting on that plane? So yes, so this is a positive x plane. Let us say the plane is perpendicular to x axis, and there is y and z. So which way should I draw the y axis? Y and z will be in the plane of the, y and z will be in the plane of the plane. This is normal to the plane, x is normal to the plane. So y and z such that x, y, z, you get x, y, z. So if this is x, y has to be on this side and z is, so x, y, z, they form right-handed screw system. x to y, I am getting y and z are in the plane. So, y and z axis are lying in the plane, that you have cut. So, the effect of the external forces, normally what you do, what are the steps that you draw when you have to draw the free body diagram? If you want to, I think this much at least I have told you already for axial member. Normally what you do, you draw the free body diagram. That means you find out the reactions. Any general body which is subjected to any slender member, so first you draw the free body diagram, find out the reaction. So, first step is always is FBD, of the total slender member. Then to compute reactions. After drawing the FBD, compute reactions. At the support, what are the reactions? Can you get the reactions in all situations? I think Namrata knows. Yes. Yes, you cannot get in all situations. In which situation you get the reactions? If it is statically determinate. Yes, if it is supported in a statically determinate manner, if the number of constraints are just sufficient to keep the body in a state of equilibrium, that we call it statically determinate, then we can find out all the reactions. Okay, but if it is not, then what do you do? Then in order to find out reactions, it is not, then you have to, yes, statically indeterminate also I have covered. So, one is there are reactions, means there are two parts, one is determinate, other one is indeterminate. Determinate will require only equilibrium conditions. You take the free body diagram of, you take the total free body diagram and you can find out. But indeterminate, what will happen? First you will have to make use of also method of superposition, and you will have to make use of, you have to study deformation and also the force deformation relation, force displacement relation. The relationship between displacement and forces have to be established, then only you can solve. So, superposition, but they can be found out. So, next part is you find out the reactions. Third part is, if you want to find out at any cross section what is the nature of the forces, then cut the body and consider one part of the body as free body diagram, and then you have to now show what will be the nature of forces that it will be. So, I think this I have already told you right in the first, that this plane is subjected to small distributed forces which we call as stresses, and there will be normal stresses and shear stresses on any, is it not? But then all these can be integrated and they can be put as forces. So, in general you can get a force Fxx. I am using two subscripts. Fxx means force on a plane whose outward normal is in x direction. First subscript defines the plane, second subscript defines the direction, Fxx. So, there can be a force in x direction. There is also a possibility that you can also, in general, you will also have a force in y direction. What should I name it? Xy. And there can also be a force in general Fxz. So, these three are the linear, these are the, so compute reactions, then take free body diagram of the, take FBD of part, a portion of the body where you are cutting. So, take 1/2, 1/4, whatever it is, you take the free body diagram. So, free body diagram of a part, and then on that part you will find that there will be, at least in general, there will be 3 forces, because all these stresses can be transformed into 3 forces. not only three forces, when you are doing this, it will also be accompanied by moments. So in general, there could also be a moment in this direction which we are calling as mxx. Moment on a plane whose outward normal is in x direction and the direction of moment is in x direction. In general, I am talking of in general, most general case, when everything is, you do not know anything. Similarly, in y direction also you can have a moment. For moment I am showing two arrows. I think that is the convention. A force, after all both are forces. Moment also is a kind of force. Only thing it has got it tries to twist the body, rotate the body, while a force is only tries to displace the body in a particular direction. So this one will, what will we call? We will call it mxy, and then here mxz. So in general you can have fx, fy, fz, I will write in matrix notation, plus fxx, fxy, fxz, and then mxx, mxy, and mxz. So this is one way of denoting forces. So in general you will have three linear forces and three moments on any cut section at a particular point. I am talking of at a particular point on that plane. So particular point, let us say, is centroid G, center of gravity of the plane. So at G you will have three forces and three moments. Okay, how have you got this? By integrating all the stresses that are acting at each and every point, that has been integrated, and that will reduce to 6 generalized forces. These 6 components are called generalized forces. So moment also is a force. So when we talk of, so at any point you will have 6 forces, 3 forces, our normal forces, and 3 moments. So this is called generalized forces. Now notation sometimes changes. Notation, I have told you about this one notation. There are people who will say, you know, why are you calling this as at any point? This is one part. So this is x direction, this is y direction. So on this side you have fxx. They will denote it by simply not fxx. They will call this as simply by fx, a force in x direction. Okay, then here instead of calling fxy, this will call simply a force in y direction. At any point on a plane, this is the force in y direction, and in z direction fxz, because these two subscripts are very clear, which is normal, which is the plane, which is the direction, everything is defined there. Now here it is said, okay, at this point G you have a force in z direction. They will say, anyway x, y, z are 3 orthogonal direction, so these are forces in 3. So why do you want to use 2 subscripts? Have only one. But then this does not define the plane. 3 directions, yes, I am having, and then moments, this we call about x axis is denoted by double. Here also you can have one single about. So instead of this, a single mx, moment about x axis, just a moment about x axis. Moment about y axis, instead of calling it as mxy, there are people who will call it only about y axis. Why do you call it by, and then z, it is mxz, that will be equal to mz. So 3 Fx, Fy, Fz plus Mx, My, Mz. Because M means moment, moment about x axis, moment about y axis, moment about z axis. But most common are notation, still people call it, they say moment about x axis, use double subscript. So they will call it, there are people who will call it this one as mxx, moment about x axis, moment about y axis, and moment about z axis. So two subscripts for moment and single subscript for force. This is more common, this one and this one. Okay, so these are the various ways of, yes. So this is not telling us anything about what is normal to the plane. This one, I have a plane, I have a body, I have cut the plane by general plane. That plane may be, supposing the plane may be having a outward normal n here. That may not coincide with x. That also is a possibility. So even for that, this notation will work, because x, y, z are independent of the normal. Okay, so n can be different also. N can also be coinciding with x. That also is a possibility. So if it coincides with x, then of course we have the very standard notation which I told you in the beginning, but then people call it by this also. So be clear about the various notations, what it means. Okay. So these six components of forces. So in general, this one is, this can be again, you have in general F force, Fxi, Fyj, Fzk, and similarly M can be written like this. So in general, you have the body, this is subjected to a force F and a moment M. I think this you have learnt in rigid body mechanics in general. So we are just reiterating that. So but then these are all integral of the stresses. They come from the distributed stresses, because here we are talking of a small area, and that small area is subjected to some stress sigma x, then tau xy and tau xz. Okay. So concept of generalized force is this. So now one by, yes please. Yes. You are right. So one by one we will take these forces, effect of these forces on the slender member. So we have already studied this. Effect of Fx on slender member we have already done. So now let us take the next one. Next best is, I mean that is how it is given in the books, but then I was taught in a different way, but still I will follow the book. That let us take the effect of Mxx on the slender member, Mx. So slender member is there. I am drawing only the, so this is length L, this is a slender member, and now it is subjected to Mx this body is in state of equilibrium. A slender member, same length L and cross section, and it is subjected to, we call it a slender member subjected to what? What kind of? Torque. So, torsion. So, now we are talking of torsion of a. Now, when a slender member is subjected to torsion, now here the cross section becomes important. Now, in axial member, cross section was not important. I think I told you it can be any cross section, triangular, rectangular, I section, any one. Now, here most of the members, if I want to apply a torque to this, what is the effect that it has got? It will try to twist this member, twisting action. It will try to turn, supposing I fix this and then apply a torque, positive torque. Positive torque means my moment should be such that it is outward, so it will try to move this rod like this pen, it will try. And since it is a elastic body, so and this one is, let us say, fixed, I am holding it. So, what will happen? I forgot to, I will bring it in the next class. I have got a model made of rubber. I can show you what happens to the, when you apply a torque. So, there, so it will try to, so this point will remain where, supposing I draw a line here, so that line will get twisted. Here it will be, so it will be like this. That line will get now this is, now most of the members that are subjected to torque, the cross section is, if you see in real practice, shafts in machine, you must have seen aate ki chakki, old time, wheat, flour. Have you ever gone to aate ki chakki for grinding of your wheat? So then there are number of wheels, then they are connected by a rod, then you have the belt moving from, because one point is rotated by a motor, and then through these belts the mechanical power is transmitted from one point to another. So all these shafts, they are subjected to torque, and most of such members are circular in cross section. So most of these cross sections are circular. So one is, for torque, we will consider the cross section to be circular, because if it is not circular, the theory or the understanding becomes little complicated. It is not that easy. So in the first course, we will introduce torque of a circular cross section member. It is a slender member whose cross section is circular and it is subjected to a torque. So this one is there circular, it is subjected to a torque mx, and we will denote it also by T, sometimes T means torque, and this end can be fixed. So T is there and it is circular cross section, because in reality you see most of the shafts which transmit power, they are all circular. If you take non-circular cross section, then the theory becomes little complicated, and that is the subject matter of your next course, not this. You have to study little more. That will be what? Advanced solid mechanics. Yes, that will be advanced solid mechanics, not the introductory solid mechanics. So this is introductory solid mechanics. So we will take circular cross section. Now for studying any behavior, any that means we want to study the deformation pattern of this stress developed inside the body of this circular cross section rod or of length L. So we want to study. So what are the steps involved in studying behavior of any body? There are 3 steps. So steps remains the same. So whenever we study the behavior, please remember this, don't forget, study the behavior of a shaft of circular cross section which is subjected to a torque T. So this is what we want to study. Study the behavior of a shaft of circular cross section which is subjected to torque. Of course, the free body says that if I cut a small portion of this, so if it is a slender, and now I am drawing only the simple diagram. Yes, of the total, if I draw the free body diagram, remove the support, then it will be a T is here, from equilibrium this also will be T. No other force is there. T is applied to the center of the cross section here. So in order to keep this in equilibrium, there must be equal and opposite force at the reaction. So at A end, at the support end, this is the free body diagram. This is the FBD. You must have this. So if I cut this into number of smaller elements, each element of this, let us call this delta x, or they will be subjected to the same torque. So even this, I have now cut this into number of parts, and now I am drawing the free body diagram of each part. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. So every element is subjected to the same torque T. Everywhere it is same torque T, here T. It cannot be different, because equilibrium requires that both sides moment must be 0. Equilibrium must be maintained, so sum of forces and sum of moments must be 0. So for this member it is so we want to now delta x, and then what are the steps? Yes, please. What are the steps? So I have drawn the free body diagram. Every small element behaves in the same manner. Steps involved are the same. You must study equilibrium of forces. See, this is standard. 2, you must study deformation, study of deformation. How does the body deform under the action of this T? What happens? Yes, for example, if I draw a line on the external surface, that line will get one end. If you are holding other end, you are twisting, you can see the line, it has got deformed. It will not, So okay, so the study of deformation and what? In study of deformation, we must ensure that the body is continuous. Continuity is maintained. What is that condition called? Study of deformation such that the body remains continuous. So what is the condition for continuity of the body? We use another condition yesterday, compatibility. So, and compatibility So second step is, and third one is, that means here it is force, here it is displacement D. So relate force displacement relation. Relate them. So these are the three steps subject to boundary conditions that defines your problem. That defines your problem. So this is standard, these steps will not change. See, these the same steps were also there. So the same steps were also there when we studied slender member subjected to axial forces. So we will apply the same. Now how do you go about applying these steps? Is it necessary that I must start from equilibrium, then this, then this? It is not necessary. You can study, I think anything can be taken first. It is a question of convenience. Now mostly in this kind of problem, see, displacement, deformation is physical thing. You see how does the particles are moving. You can do an experiment, you can draw a line, you can see how does the line is rotating. So we will start with deformation. So see, these three steps are there, but it is not necessary that I must start with equilibrium. I will take equilibrium in the end, but the total behavior cannot be defined unless we include all the three steps. So I will start with deformation. Now let us say a delta x I am calling this as delta x of length delta x. What happens to another delta x you take side by next element to this. This is also of the same length, the behavior of both must be same. Now what happens to, now concentrate on this cross section. Originally cross section was Originally the cross section of this shaft is plane and circular. It is plane, it is perpendicular to x axis. I have cut it perpendicular to x axis. This is x axis. X is in this direction, I am taking positive, left to right. So it is plane and circular cross section. So this is, you must ensure that yes, initially it is plane and circular. What will happen after the loads are applied? After T's are applied, what will happen? After torque is applied, what will happen? Supposing, I mean, for the sake of argument, I am saying that this element, the cross section under the action of T bulges out. Bulges out means after you have, see, this is, sorry, actually you should not say here, let us say T is not there, there is no first, but afterwards when T is applied, it bulges out means I am talking of like this. Yes, it has bulged. Now if it is, see, this normal is perpendicular and it is going in a direction, my screw is moving in a direction which is going outside the cross section. So if it bulges out this end, the other end here also it must bulge out, that is clear, because this is also, this vector also is going out of the cross section. So if this is bulging out from symmetry condition I am saying, So, if it bulges out here, this must bulge out. See how does the particle, so I am just telling you how do we, this is deductive logic, you know, that means we are saying okay, let the cross section bulge out in one cross section. So, one end has bulged out, other end also must, because otherwise it is not possible, you know, the behavior, because this can be turned 180 degrees and then this plane is exactly same as this. This whole element can be turned 180 degrees and this will be exactly same. So, that means since this has bulged out, this also must bulge out. Since this is happening, here also it must bulge out. I am just talking up, that means on the cross section, the circular cross section becomes like a what? Circular cross section is part of a hemisphere. You cut a hemisphere at some cross section, so it is a part of a hemisphere, hemispherical. So, this will become hemispherical. Now, can you fit them if they bulge out? No, it is not possible. So, that means this is not possible. So, this argument goes against. So, if you start with this, similarly next time you can say that same length of this, it was plane originally, and when you are applying torque here, wait a minute, you can, either you are too hungry or your food will disappear from the hostel, So, no. So this is, so now we have applied, and let us say no, it is the cross section is going like this, both sides is caving in. Now, can you fit this? When you bring the two ends together here, there will be a gap created. So, compatibility is not maintained. In the first case, you could not fit them. So, one thing is clear, that plane cross sections normal to the x axis, in order that it must remain plane. From these two arguments, I can only say that a plane cross section, originally it was a circular cross section with plane, when there was no torque. After torque is applied also, it must remain plane. So, one thing based upon our deductive logic, we have proved that the plane cross sections, this plane transverse cross section perpendicular to x axis remains plane during deformation. So, plane cross sections, plane cross section normal to x axis remain plane during the time it is deforming. So, this is a very important assumption. This is realization, or that my every plane cross section will remain plane. That means all the particles in the plane will move only in the plane when a torque is applied. Particles will not go along x axis, they will not move along x axis. Is it clear or not? No, because you have no, So, all the particles remaining in one plane will remain in the same plane when the torque is applied. they will neither go in minus x direction, not in plus x direction. So, neither they will become semi-spherical outward or neither they will dish in, dish out or dish in. So, this is one. Then what about, I will just take, is it okay, I will take one because I want to just finish this deformation. Now, in the cross section, now I am drawing this cross section. This, a torque is applied, torque is perpendicular to this, perpendicular to the cross section is torque outward. Now you have this, you have just now proved that plane remains plane. What about this line? There are radial lines that I can draw. How, what happens to these radial lines? I want to study the behavior based upon some experimentation, some physical argument. What happens to this? See, you may say that yes, this line after torque is applied, this is without, before torque is applied, you may say it gets turned like this. So, if it gets turned like this, every line will have the same curvature and in the same nature will be same of any cross section. Is it okay? If it becomes, yes, it gets deformed, the line does not remain a straight line, so it will become like this, or it can also become the other way. Like this. So, this is without torque, no torque, t equal to 0. This is with t and this is again t. So, you can have this or this, lines are getting deformed. Now, you do the experiment. Now, there are two ends. One is this end, another one is positive x axis, positive and negative x axis. Now, if this is a deformation of a line is in a particular manner of positive x, in minus x also we have to take a similar, and please draw this and then bring the two ends together and you see whether they can be fitted together. And now I am leaving it for you to do the experiment. You please draw this line like this and then bring these two ends, means this end and this end together. They must match, na? Deformation over here on this plane, negative plane, and deformation on the positive plane, they must be same type, then only it can be matched. They must be compatible. So, line here and here must be like this only, which will not be possible. You just now see. This you do, I am leaving it for you to draw. So, it will not be possible to match again this. So, this is again deductive logic. If I take this or this, then when I bring this end and this end together, you will find that one end will have this kind of deformation, other end will have this kind of deformation, and they cannot be matched. Since they cannot be matched, it is not possible that these lines will deform like this or this. So, the only possibility is the line will remain straight. Yes, when it becomes straight, yes, straight can be fitted, but the moment you give curvature, they cannot be fitted. So, lines, any line, any radial line will not only will rotate all right, but will remain straight, will not get distorted, no distortion of the radial line. Please do this experiment, draw something on a small piece and see for yourself whether whatever I have said is right or not. Okay. So, a line, finally we can say that based on the argument, a line here will simply move from here to, if it is a torque is applied like this, positive means this point will move here. So, it will just go, it will rotate in the plane only. A line will certainly rotate, but it will remain in the plane and it will remain straight. It will not get curved. So this has come from the geometrical consideration and from compatibility consideration. The line must remain. Now there is a small mathematical formula that can be now developed based upon this, which I will tell you next time on Monday.